How did a collection of former colonies in just a few centuries become the most powerful nation in human history? The default story is one of destiny, a tale of freedom, ingenuity, and inevitable triumph. But if we scrape away the myth, what we find is far more raw, more calculated, and more fascinating. America's rise wasn't a steady march. It was a violent, lucky, and ruthlessly ambitious sprint. To understand it, we have to look at three profound drivers that worked in concert, a perfect storm of power. Let's begin with the most uncomfortable truth. America's first and greatest advantage was the misfortune of others. It was the ultimate beneficiary of catastrophe. First, the land itself. The United States didn't develop on empty soil. It expanded across a continent of immense natural wealth. Fertile plains, vast forests, huge coal, oil, and mineral deposits. This expansion came at a brutal cost, the displacement and near destruction of Native American nations and the labor of millions of enslaved Africans. This foundation of land and resources was acquired not through peaceful settlement, but through conquest and coercion, providing an economic base that few nations could ever match. Then, the 20th century delivered America its greatest strategic windfall. While Europe was the cradle of modern industry, science, and empire, it was also the stage for its own suicide. During the First and Second World Wars, the industrial heartlands of Europe and Asia, Britain, Germany, France, Japan, the Soviet Union, were systematically bombed, shelled, and occupied. Their cities were reduced to rubble, their populations traumatized, their economies shattered. Where was America? 3,000 miles away, protected by two vast oceans. The flames that consumed London, Leningrad, and Tokyo never reached New York or Los Angeles. Instead, American factories hummed at full capacity. It became, famously, the arsenal of democracy. But let's reframe that heroic phrase. This was also the single greatest economic stimulus package in history. America didn't just build for itself, it fueled the entire Allied war effort, often lending the money to buy the very weapons it made. The war ended the Great Depression not through New Deal programs alone, but through unprecedented debt-financed industrial mobilization. The result in 1945 was a staggering imbalance of power. The United States emerged not just victorious, but physically untouched. It possessed over half of the entire world's manufacturing capacity. Its economy was not just intact, it was booming. Its potential rivals were either allies in ruins or defeated enemies under occupation. America held a monopoly on the atomic bomb. This wasn't merely winning a war, it was winning the lottery by default, because every other major power had committed economic and physical self-destruction. The first driver of superpower status was catastrophic luck on a global scale. But raw power is fleeting. The genius, or the ruthlessness of American strategy after 1945 was the understanding that true dominance isn't just about having the biggest stick. It's about building the playground, writing the rules, and owning the bank that everyone else has to use. This was the second driver, the architect of the system. Even before World War II ended, American planners were designing the peace. In 1944, at the Bretton Woods Conference, they established the new financial architecture. The US dollar, backed by the world's largest gold reserves, was anointed the global reserve currency. Why does this matter? It means that to buy oil, to trade internationally, to hold stable savings, countries around the world need to stockpile dollars. This creates permanent, built-in demand for American currency and debt, a privilege so immense the French later called it America's exorbitant privilege. It allows the US to borrow unimaginable sums, to print money during crises, and to wield financial power as a weapon through sanctions. But the architecture went far beyond money. America built or took the lead in the very institutions meant to govern the post-war world: the United Nations, the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank. While presented as multilateral, these institutions were structured with American influence hardwired into their founding charters, from veto power to weighted voting. Simultaneously, it constructed a global security web, NATO and Europe, and bilateral treaties with Japan, South Korea, and others. This served a dual purpose. It contained the Soviet Union, yes, but it also made the economic recovery of rivals like Germany and Japan, and later the rise of allies like South Korea, fundamentally dependent on American military protection. It tied their security to US interests. For decades, this allowed them to spend less on defense and more on economic growth, but it also anchored them firmly within an American-led system. And finally, America became the guardian of the global commons. The US Navy didn't just defend American coastlines, it effectively policed the world's major sea lanes, the highways of global trade. This guaranteed the free flow of oil from the Middle East and goods from Asia, a system from which all trading nations benefited, but which ultimately relied on American power and served American strategic interests. This is the less visible, more profound form of power. It's not the power of direct command, but the power of the framework. You can grow rich within this American-built system, and many did, but challenging the system itself becomes exponentially more difficult. America became the manager, the rule setter, and the banker of the liberal world order. Yet, hard power and systemic control can breed resentment. The third driver was softer, more magnetic, and in many ways more potent: the power of the idea and the culture of relentless reinvention. America cultivated a powerful, exportable dream. It was sold through Hollywood's glamour, the rebellious energy of rock and roll and hip hop, and the myth of the self-made individual. It was the promise of reinvention, of freedom from the old hierarchies of class, religion, and birth that still defined much of the world. This cultural output wasn't just entertainment, it was a dazzling advertisement for the American way of life.